Hey guys, what's the definition of Tuscaloosa?
I don't know.
It's an elephant periodontal disease.
Oh, come on. You ruined my joke, man. You were supposed to say, I don't know, Carl. What's that?
Okay, let's rewind.
The actual punchline is the last thing a mastodon wants to hear from its Italian dentist.
You Tuscaloosa.
Tuscaloosa. Happy Thanksgiving, guys. How was yours?
Good.
Yeah.
I just flew back from Germany and my daughter's hosted.
Oh, wow.
Oh, nice. Very cool.
Great.
So we got out of that.
It was just me and the missus this year. And she actually ate my food, which was amazing because I cooked enough for an army.
Oh, for a second, I thought she stole from your plate.
No. Actually, all she wants is stuffing. She wanted me to make enough stuffing for her to survive on for a week and a half.
That's awesome. My wife is the same way. She loves the stuffing.
Yeah, it's all about the stuffing. Okay, we've got, 5 stories today, but we have a very special announcement first, right, Patrick?
Yeah, and I appreciate you guys letting me do this because it's a cause near and dear to my heart. My wife is running the Boston Marathon, the 127th Boston Marathon in April. And as part of it, she's raising money for Tufts Medical Center, who helped my brother fighting his cancer. He lost his battle a few years back, but they did such a great job taking care of him. She's raising money for them. And we have a charity page. Any and all references, referrals, postings, and donations are welcome. But if you guys don't mind, I'd like to post it on the show notes and see if people can help her hit that goal.
So let's make a shortcut for security this week. So go to Tufts, TUFTS.securitysthisweek.com. And that'll take you to that page.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah. Thank you, Patrick. And all right, now let's get into the meat. First of all, man, there were some shenanigans going on Mastodon this week.
Oh, my gosh.
And Twitter. We can't not talk about this.
No.
To me.
It's seldom that a company is hacked by its CEO.
And destroyed.
Well, he says this. There's more people logging in because they want to see the damage and the destruction.
Yeah, it's like the dumpster fire thing. But, he really revealed himself, Mr. Musk I'm talking about, as a first-class idiot, Which
you're going to have to be more specific.
Okay. So first thing he does is he fires half the staff. And I understand he's got to make money and all that stuff. But some critical people left. And I even saw, because I joined Mastodon on last Friday when everybody else did the mass exodus, and hence the Mastodon joke. But anyway, he basically sent out an email to
an ultimatum.
Half of the other half, basically saying you're either going to have to buckle down and work twice as hard or get out. Oh, and not get out. Here's 3 months severance pay. To which the answer was a resounding "see ya" for hundreds of people.
Well, my understanding that most of the people that stayed have to because of their visa status.
All right, but imagine this. How brilliant is this move? You fire half the staff, which means nobody's there maintaining the servers, monitoring the servers, that sort of stuff, right?
Right.
Which means you can't support as many people on the Twitter platform. So you cause such a shitstorm that less people jump on Twitter. I'm just saying. Now he's managing the amount of people on Twitter by kicking them all out to Mastodon.
And I saw this great Mastodon post, which was somebody said, hey, I just got fired from my position at Twitter, which he was in charge of the physical security, like the entry keys to the place.
Oh, I saw that.
And he got a call from Elon basically saying, hey, you have to come back. We're locked out. We can't get back.
Do I have to come back? I don't think I have to come back. Hey, on a separate note, how do you make $1 billion?
I don't know.
You start with 44.
And lose 43.
Yeah.
Oh, that's brutal.
It's just brutal. Terrible.
We'll see. I mean, could it survive? I think there's going to be an outage or 12 before we see what it kind of
reminds me, and here's a Patrick Hines reference for you. Kind of reminds me how when Saddam Hussein was being invaded, he let all the criminals out of jail.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, run, free.
It's like, okay, if you were banned before, come on back. It's okay. What could happen?
At least Twitter's not doing as bad as FTX.
No.
Because I don't know if you've been following that.
I have. That's the cryptocurrency thing.
Right.
Yeah, that's how to turn a $44 billion into negative money.
Right. And,
yeah,
you know, we didn't
mail.
do a story on that, did we?
No, we did not. No, it's not security related. Well,
Well, kind of, but it was in all the news.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. So
SBF.
what are we starting with today, boys?
So I think we should start with U.S. federal networks hacked. APT hackers gain access to the domain controller, which is just such an odd.
Not a good look.
It's an odd title, but it's also I wanted to go with this article because of a couple different reasons. This is from cybersecuritynews.com. So this article it references a hack that happened earlier this year. Obviously, when hacks happen of large organizations or government networks, military networks, that sort of stuff, we don't know about it the day it happens.
Can we start with what a domain controller is? I know we talked about it a little bit before, but there might be some listeners who have no idea what that is.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So at your house, you wouldn't have a domain controller unless you're
what?
Like the three of us, right? Yeah, we have domain controllers, but it's a different topic. But
I should upgrade to 351.
Oh boy.
For all of you old MCSEs cringing out there. But anyway, so in a corporate network or a very large network, it's easier to manage inside of what's called a directory. Think like one global database that knows all the computers, knows all the users and their passwords, and whether someone should be able to log in and be able to print, or whether somebody should be able to use computer A versus computer B. So Active Directory is really just a database. And
that's the Azure database.
Yeah, it's the Lord of the Rings model.
Yes.
Of identity.
Right.
Well, before that, we had Windows NT and Windows controllers in a company.
Right.
Yeah.
So in a large organization, company, government network, whatnot, you're going to manage your network not by individual user accounts on every computer. Mm-hmm. You're going to have this massive database of usernames and passwords as to, who can log in and do what. That's called Active Directory. Now, that directory has domain controllers. So inside the Active Directory, you usually have domains. Like one could be a production domain, one could be a development domain, right? And you keep them isolated depending on their function and whatnot. Well, in each of those little sublayers, there's a controller, which is the single database server or multiple servers, if you will, that have the ability to authenticate users and that sort of stuff. So getting access to a domain controller just means you now have access to the entire network. You've in essence, owned that network. If you own the domain controller, you now can log onto the network. And actually, honestly, if you can get control of a domain controller, you can do all sorts of crazy things like grab the hash for the Kerberos ticket granting ticket user.
Wait, are you giving career criminal advice? Should I play the theme? Should I play the theme?
Yes, you should do it. Play it.
It's criminal career advice.
Okay, so let's temper that a little bit. First of all, domain controllers are not on the outside unless you're insane.
Yes, that would be dumb.
So putting your jewelry box on the porch is possible, but not expected.
Advisable.
So this means you have to get inside the network first.
Yes.
Okay, which is not, in most cases, is not instantly trivial. Sometimes it is, but most of the time we find customers, they're pretty hardened shelled. So you got to get inside before this is something possible.
Mm-hmm.
One caveat, Active Directory is Microsoft Azure's, domain controller, if you will. And that is on the internet. However, it is highly fortified.
But you got to get on the back plane because they don't have the Azure AD directory servers on the internet. They typically have them on a back plane.
That's true, but the whole idea is be able to access it over the internet.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you were to get access to a domain controller, typically what you do is then compromise a very sensitive account, like, and we won't go into all the details, but the Kerberos ticket granting account, if you were able to compromise that account, you could create your own keys, if you will, for the network that will last for 10 years. And it doesn't matter whether they rename password or change passwords or users or whatever, it doesn't matter. So there's all sorts of cool things when you can gain access to a domain controller, which is why the title of this is kind of weird, where they say federal networks hacked, APT hackers gained access to domain controller. Well, they could have probably just said, gained access to the entire domain, because when you have access to the domain controller, you kind of own the whole thing.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. So the reason also I wanted to point this out is, I always think of, listen, we're all pretty good, the three of us, at security and secure code and understanding, what we should do. And I don't think there's been a week that's gone by in the last 68 episodes that one of us hasn't said, patch your network, patch your software.
Have we mentioned you should patch? Have we mentioned it? Maybe we haven't.
We're like, hey.
Carl just thought his nickname was Patches.
Right, for like 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
You were named after Patrick. Patrick Hines.
Patrick.
He's the patch man.
He's the patch man. You could do a song there.
I did. Where were you a couple weeks ago?
I know, right?
That's true.
So
I thought of that.
Well, you did, just not first.
So needless to say, this particular breach was through a VMware Horizon server. Get this, by breaching using Log4 shells. So Log4j exploit in their VMware Horizon server, which we've been talking about. I think the first week it came out.
You said I think you said the internet is broken.
But here's the thing.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. We don't know when. It could have been hacked while we were waiting for a patch. It could have been an early, because this is a government network. They get express service to, attacks. People go after them first. So there's no way to think that it's possible that it happened last week, which would be really sad. But I think it's more likely that while there was a patch being prepared, while they were waiting to get to it, because remember we had a little bit of a kerfuffle getting a real patch.
Yeah.
They could have gotten access to the network because they don't have dates, do they?
No, it's interesting you say that. I love how you say that, because as you look through this article, what they say is during a routine investigation in April of 2022, they found that an APT had breached VMware Horizon. They didn't say that's when it happened.
An APT is a what?
Advanced persistent threat. So an outside threat actor
who's
breached the network through VMware Horizon.
Did they say?
And they said
where on the pyramid it was?
it.
Was it a state actor?
I think they think it's Iran.
Yeah, I think they believe it's Iran.
So they've done
attribution's hard, but that's what they do.
Yeah, they're doing crypto mining.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Either amateurs do that, or people, especially on a federal network, or people from attackers from North Korea and Iran are looking for hard currency, and crypto is one way to do it. So I could see those are two of the only state actors I can think of that would do that.
Wait a minute. I have a question before we move on.
All right.
Patrick, this is for you. And Dwayne, you might know this too, but everybody knows that government computer systems are old and antiquated. So they must spend a lot of money on security to keep those old antiquated, systems from being attacked. I can't imagine if you're not going to spend the money to update your systems and get them more current and modern and reliable. You at least have to, you're a country. You at least have to, put up a big wall. Part. So do they or don't they? And this might be serious career criminal advice for countries that want to attack the United States.
Let me unpack this a little bit. First of all, the government has several networks, and some of them are not connected to anything that looks like the internet at all.
Right.
They're air gapped. You're not going to get on them by doing DNS poisoning.
Yeah.
You can't send emails outside of that system. They're
locked.
They're separate.
Down.
That's not what we're talking about.
Okay.
We're not talking about, and that's where the real crazy secrets are.
Yeah.
But there's also other networks that are production networks that need to be used by office workers and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And those have the same problems as everyone else's, except you've got the military doing it, which they're competent, but they have the same problem as the private sector. People move around, people do things temporarily and then forget to untemporarily take them down.
Yeah.
How many times, Dwayne, have we gone in and it's a test server that someone stood up to test something and they just forgot to take it down,
or the person who stood up the server to do whatever, then left the company. Yeah. So then nobody's responsible for the server. We actually had a recent red team that happened where they were like, wait, that person's been gone a really long time.
Yeah, we call that when they're musked.
Oh my. Wow. Patrick. Wow.
Muscaloosa.
Targets down.
Right.
Muscaloosa cannon.
But so yes, does the government have good networks? Yes. Are they more attacked than everyone
Yes.
else you will ever
Yeah.
see. Absolutely.
Yeah.
They are under, and they're attacked by far more sophisticated attackers.
But you
than-
always hear about government systems being old and antiquated, and they don't have, voting, for example, right?
Sure.
So it's a huge tale. So if you look at, when we go to most big companies, multi-billion-dollar companies, they have one of everything. They bought one of this server and they tried that trend and they have this SAN and the thing is they don't get, until that stuff's depreciated off the books, no one's getting rid of it.
Yeah.
And so it sticks around and it finds a new life and it
Kind of
does
like my
new
garage.
things. Exactly. Yes. Like all the pedals. Like all the pedals.
never
in your
off the
garage.
book.
All the old
So
PCs.
it's more of, there's a long tail. When you buy a lot of hardware, the government's not going to get rid of all the hardware they have. The closest they came is when they replaced all the TPM chips and all the laptops
Yeah.
and other client systems. That was a
Dude,
big
that was
upgrade
a
push.
nightmare.
Yeah.
Well, you were involved in that too.
Yeah.
So there are some drivers that will force them to get rid of a lot of the old hardware, but switches and tape backup machines and people don't typically like to mess with domain controllers because you get 40,000
No, of course
accounts
not.
on them. So you're going to get rid of the domain controller and it's probably passed through 18 administrators' hands over the last 10 years because people move around.
Right. And take a government network. I mean, we've all known governments to be super streamlined, not a lot of red tape, right? Real easy to do things. So imagine trying to get a
That was
change
Dwayne's
on a
attempt
network.
at dry humor, by the way.
Yeah.
He didn't even smile when he said that.
I'm pandering to our British friends who love my dry humor. But needless to say, like for them to get anything done on a domain controller that's 10 years old, it's got to take forever, right? A lot of approvals, a lot of, vetting committees and that sort of stuff. And it's not like this was the NSA that got hacked or the FBI. This was the Federal Civilian Executive Branch. Can any of you, I'm looking at you, Mr. Hines, tell me what exactly the Federal Civilian Executive Branch does?
So SES is the civilian version of a general. So when you go through the G ranks, GS1, GS5, GS20, GS13, there's no GS20. When you get to a certain level, you stop being a GS, a government service employee with a level, and you turn into a SES. And those have an equivalency to general ranks. And I bet that this is part of that administration.
Got it. Okay. So
I'm
this
betting.
wasn't,
I don't know.
This
for a
wasn't
fact. I
like
think that's the case.
an intelligence agency or like access
It's like
to the
HR.
nukes.
It's like
It's
HR
like,
for civilian general equivalents.
right.
So speaking of non sequiturs, I gave on Mastodon. I saw Stephen Fry was on there, and I love this guy. And I wrote him a private message. Stephen Fry, you are my hero, sir. A perfect amalgam of class and crass.
Oof,
and he wrote
nice.
back, "How kind."
Only he could appreciate that compliment.
That's awesome.
Yeah. All right, shall we move on?
Let's do it.
There's nothing we can do about that, right?
Well, so here's the problem. There's something you said, Dwayne, that's very scary that I don't know if it landed. It lands with me. If he can get full access to the domain controller, he can create a golden ticket that's good for 10 years. It's a ticket granting ticket. And basically, it's really hard to get him out of that network. You
Without
get him out of
burning
the
it to the
network,
ground.
but
Yeah.
if he gets back in, he's still got the ticket to ride.
Right.
And again, this administration is probably looking at, do we burn this domain down and start over?
Yeah.
Yep.
And the disruption is really huge. So I think Microsoft's going to have to come up with a way for us to identify, like, forensic identification of how these tickets are granted. My bet is some of our friends already know how to do that. But it's got to become like more of a norm. This is kind of we have to figure out how to get the toothpaste back in the tube.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's once we do the extermination.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Moving on.
Backdoored Chrome extension installed by 200,000 Roblox players. Hey, I know something about this because I listen to Led Zeppelin. And I know Robert Plant once said, "Hey, I want to be your backdoor man, baby." I know exactly what.
Yeah, he was a hacker. No, most people don't know that.
Yeah, it's
Robert
uncommon
Plant.
knowledge he was a
about-
hacker. That's what he was talking about.
I kind of think they're talking about a different backdoor than the one Robert Plant was singing about
Listen,
there.
Do you mean
kids,
a
it was
Trojan?
Roblox.
Do you mean
Yeah.
a Trojan?
Yeah, something like that.
What is this all about anyway?
So Roblox, for those of you who may or may not know as you're listening here, so everybody's heard of Minecraft on the planet, right? Minecraft's been around for a bazillion years. Microsoft bought it out from Mojang, and it's still a super successful platform.
If you have kids in their 20s, you probably know what Minecraft is.
My kids, I have a kid in college who still plays Minecraft. I'm just saying it's still hyper popular.
My grandson's 10 and he plays the hell out of it.
Yep. Yeah. You could be anywhere from 5 years old to 25 years old right now, and you probably have heard of and played Minecraft.
I tried to get my youngest daughter into it. She's like, ew. That's what icky boys play.
Adults play WoW,
Oh, wow.
World of Warcraft.
Wow. So Roblox, think of Roblox as kind of a competitor, right? Oh. So it's very much the same style of game. But there's, they add a lot of different types of blocks and functionality and things people can do. I actually personally kept my kids off of Roblox just because it's not as monitored as well. As Minecraft was.
And it's very monetized.
Yeah, and it's highly monetized. So what's interesting is, in this particular case, users of Roblox were downloading an extension, and if I remember correctly, it was to search for it was called Search Blocks, and it was to search for other Roblox users and or servers, I believe. And that's what it was. It was just an extension in Chrome, and let's say some user griefed you on, some Roblox server. You could look them up, and maybe see what servers are on or whatever it may be. Well, the interesting thing about this is the code for this particular add-on in Chrome made a reference to an image. So inside the code, it said, "Hey, I want to load just HTML code. I want to load this image source." And the image source was a text file.
What?
And then if you downloaded the text file and looked at it,
when it was a text file with like a JPEG extension?
No, it was just a .txt. They just said image source, go fetch this, image.png / image.txt.
Wow.
And they just pulled it down. So what happens is once they pulled it down, it got loaded as a JavaScript file that would then take when a user went to log into Roblox with their username and password, it would take that username and password and shuttle it off to another server. So now they could grab your username and password, and Roblox was all, told everybody, hey, listen, this has been downloaded by 200,000 people. You really need to go and change your username and your passwords and that sort of stuff.
Right.
So it didn't give you access to the user's computer. So when they say backdoor, it's not like it was loading up a shell that was allowing for a backdoor and that sort of stuff. This was just grabbing usernames and passwords, what it looks like right now. Okay. But the other interesting thing is, if it were me and I were writing this...
Wait a minute. Is this another...
It's criminal career advice.
Listen up, criminals.
Let's imagine you want to write a malicious Chrome extension. And it's going to be vetted by the community or vetted by Google before it gets approved.
Should you say this?
Should
you say this?
Probably not.
Oh, he needs to say this.
It's out there.
What you do.
He's out there.
It's just not conveniently accessible as it is on Security This Week.
What you do is you take a text file that's going to load that image, and when you submit the extension to Chrome, to Google or whatnot to look at, in that text file is nothing. It's just innocuous. It's just, copyright information.
Okay.
And the moment that your extension gets approved, you then switch the text file out. Because what happens is it's grabbing this text file from your server. So you can change it anytime you want. Right? So the moment it gets approved by Google, you then just change that text file on your server to something else.
Isn't it? That's dumb on Google's part, because they should be checking to make sure that the file hasn't changed.
You would imagine, but imagine you as the developer have to have the ability to update your own app,
you then need to reapprove it.
You do, unless it's a resource.
It's the same as putting an app in the App Store, and then once you get approved, swapping out the app with a Trojan.
But wait a second. What if you put an app in the App Store and it had a splash screen, and the splash screen was a JPEG for Security This Week, and we decided, and it's pulled from our web server, and we decided to then change it to a different JPEG, would we have to resubmit it? No.
You should.
No, because it would just pull down the new JPEG and go, hey, here you go. It's the new picture for security this week.
But if the content in the app changes, they should be smart enough to recognize that and shut off your app until they can verify it.
You would think so.
That's what they should do.
If you're pulling external resources, nope. You just pull down that external resource. And the other thing is it's loaded as an image.
What if I had an S-bomb? Patrick.
Well, then I'd let it explode.
Then you wouldn't have to drop an F-bomb when it happened to you.
No, seriously. What if my app included a software bill of materials and it included that JPEG file? And
you'd have to. So what you'd have to do is MD5 hash the JPEG file.
Yeah.
And then Google'd have to have on their Android operating system, it'd have to have like a virtualized wrapper around an application. And as it requests resources, you'd have to check that MD5 before you allowed it into the app because it was approved. And then every time you changed a picture, every time, you were open.
The README file, anything.
Yeah, the README file, copyright. Anytime you changed anything that seemed innocuous, like images, I can imagine Google going, it's just an image, right? I don't care what they switch it for. They're already an approved developer.
Oh my God, that's so stupid. What if I put up my own sort of Roadblocks kind of game for kids, and it was a great kid game, and it had some graphics in it, and I just swapped it out for porn?
Right. Yeah.
What's stopping me from doing that besides the fact that they're going to catch on and arrest me for, but
child endangerment and yeah. No, there's a lot of ways around these systems, unfortunately, which
makes systems need to get smarter.
Yep.
And we do get 100%. Smarter, but the hackers do too. It's a war. It's an ongoing war of escalation where each side is going to keep finding vulnerabilities and fixes and, security. And there's no destination here. It's always just going to get more and more complex. So until we got AIs defending and AIs attacking.
Right. So is the prescription here, guys, to just not use Roblox?
Well, I wouldn't. Yeah. Here's the problem. Like search blocks has been, this is like 2 or 3 times that this particular developer has done this type of thing. So I don't know why they keep getting approved. That's a different question. But the other sort of advice I'd give, especially children, if they're using Roblox.
Yeah.
Be careful what you download that's not from the main Roblox website or from the Roblox UI.
Well,
don't go out on the internet and try and
it's the Halloween candy rule.
How does a kid be careful about what they download?
It's the Halloween candy rule. If you don't know the people at the house, you don't eat the candy unless you've inspected it. You shouldn't be downloading things. The problem is the internet makes things very easy for you to get.
Very convenient.
That doesn't mean you should get them.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. But
it's convenient.
Yeah.
I said
there are several times I've heard, hey, can we hack this app? Hey, can we? And kids I can't say related to me, but kids that are related to me will download, hey, I found this thing that will crack this piece of software. And I'm like, please tell me you didn't run anything on this network. Wow. So you got to be careful. You got to be careful what you download.
All right. Should we take a little break here, guys?
Sure.
All right, we'll take a break and we'll be right back after these important messages. And we're back. Hey, guess what? It's Security This Week. That's my friend Patrick Hines and my other friend Dwayne LaFlotte. And man, we just went over that Roblox thing, and I think we came to a nice, tidy end on that, right? Should we go to the next one?
Yeah. Let's talk about discontinued web servers.
Because nobody has those, right? Except for the government.
Why wouldn't you keep using a discontinued web server? I mean,
it's not just web servers, right? I mean, I told you about my wife's sister who is still running Vista.
Please tell me that's the name of a car and not the operating system.
No. I think I convinced her to upgrade, but for,
she's really not running it anymore. Someone else is.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It's like the famous hacker bumper sticker that says, "My other computer is your computer."
If the product is free, I own your ass.
That's awesome.
All right.
Yeah. So
tell me about this.
This is an interesting one. So this is an article. I mean, they're all interesting, but the underpinnings of this, we've seen quite a bit especially with botnets. So hackers breach energy orgs via bugs in discontinued web servers. But if you peel this back and take a look at the underpinnings of it, what it really is IoT devices. Right. So,
Internet of Things.
I know we've mentioned this before. Yeah. Internet of Things is all the stupid stuff that may be connected to the internet.
Screenless little computers that monitor things, like they're in your car and they phone home. They're on the sides of gas pumps. They're, everywhere.
Yep. Refrigerators,
Yes.
to some extent, TVs, there's power plugs you can plug in and turn on and off over the internet. All these things are IoT devices or Internet of Things.
That's right.
In this particular case, this was a IP camera system / DVR, which is digital video recorder.
Right.
So imagine somebody's security cam system for their business.
Yep.
That they happen to connect to the internet and allow anybody to connect to. Why? Because they want to sit at home and be able to turn on the security cameras
Because
and look
it's
at them, right?
Anyone?
Convenient.
There you
Right?
go.
Yeah, like what's the secure way to do that? Well, you could do it through over a VPN, right? Put a VPN in and then VPN into the business at question and then open up an IoT or the IoT cam system and see it that way. That's one secure way to do it. But putting it directly out on the internet, the problem is nobody thinks about patching these devices, right? Let's say you're a bank and you take
it's not possible in this case.
you take IP cameras and you put them in the lobby. How often do people go, you know what? We should go patch the camera.
Well,
most of them aren't even patching operating
If they're
systems. Never mind
smart,
cameras.
they'll self-patch, right?
So, yes, but a lot of IoT systems don't actually put in self-patching. So you have to actually go seek out, is there a new firmware for my, X camera?
It's risky for the vendor because if I self-patch and I brick the unit, I own the problem.
Yes.
If I let you patch it, you're not gonna. So it probably won't brick the unit. But I can blame it on you if you do.
And you still got your money because they bought it.
And I still got my money.
Yeah.
So there's not a lot of big financial motivation
no
for
incentive.
this problem to be solved.
Right.
Wow.
Right. But take like, a refrigerator, right? That phones home to see when you need to change a filter or something along those lines. Like, how often is that firmware changing? And if the company did realize that there was a way to security breach that refrigerator, do they even care? Like, all right, so somebody's on your network breaching your refrigerator, like whatever. Right? So I could see there's an issue with vendors going, I don't really care about that. It's nice that somebody could breach it, right? But who cares? And then you have the end users who are like, I'm never sitting down thinking to myself, it's like every 6 months when I need to change the filter in my furnace, right? I never remember to do it.
But you know what? There's something between the end user and the vendor. And that is, especially in a business, there's the IT people. And, companies, corporations, are conglomerations of lots of political animals. You know what I mean?
And IT is not a powerful political animal.
It's not a powerful political animal. However, nobody wants to take responsibility for screwing up anything, right?
No.
So if there's a potential that a patch comes out that I don't know enough about how it's going to impact the business if I patch and reboot this thing and nobody's there to tell me, let's say I work at Twitter.
Sure. Hey, nobody works at Twitter.
There's one
You're
guy.
one of the 5 people in the world that works for Twitter
There's
now.
one guy in the IT room, and he says, "Oh, this needs to be patched. Gee, I wonder what will happen if I do this."
Do you know how I know you don't work at Twitter, Carl? Because you're not at work right now.
Well,
Those people are never going to be seen on the street
But
again.
you know what I'm saying? I mean, it's not as simple as if it's an end user, right? Like my Wi-Fi router self-patches. That's why every once in a while it goes down and it comes back up, and I love that. But
best stuff does.
Yeah, but that's because I bought it at Best Buy for $300.
And because there's a lot of testing that goes into that.
Yeah.
It's easy to brick the device if you don't do it right.
Right.
Yeah, like I've had routers in the past that we'll buy for like $30.
Yeah.
Super cheap, but those don't update on their own. They don't do. Actually, they don't do.
Well, and the update process is scary unto itself.
That's right.
Download this firmware. Do not let it shut off. If it shuts off, then
meanwhile, requests are coming in and they're failing, and people are calling you. You know, you're lonely. Hey, let's patch something.
Yep.
Phone will ring off the hook.
Yeah, and usually if you're in IT, nobody knows your name unless something goes wrong.
Right.
Like status quo, if everything is working and you don't touch it and nobody knows who you are,
that's
like
that's
audio
a good
engineers,
day in IT. Right?
Yeah.
Nobody cares that you made it sound great, but if there's any feedback, you're
the guy.
You're
Hello,
the guy.
this is IT. Did you try to turn it off and turn it on again?
Developers, on the other hand, ship features. They're heroes, right? They have a party. Yeah. IT people, nope. Only get negative attention. That's it.
Yep, try being 100%. A security guy.
Yeah, I mean, I thought about that for a brief moment. What if I could, not me personally, but what if you could carve out this sort of niche company where you keep your eyes on everybody's hardware and you make sure it's all up to date and stuff. And that sounds really easy, fun at first. And then you're like, oh my God, what a nightmare.
Yeah. Nightmare.
Well, because it's political to reboot a server.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
We've talked to a million customers where it has to be approved at the highest levels to have downtime and change management.
I wouldn't be in that business without, $100 million insurance policy.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Liability. Yep. Yeah.
So the other thing that's interesting here, so this was a breach of IP camera systems, where they were then, pushing down custom code that could, talk to a C2 structure and all other good stuff. And and they say, hey, they were actually targeting a cybersecurity company recorded future revealed in a report published in April, blah, blah, blah. Chinese hacking group, including one traced as Red Echo, targeted multiple Indian electric grid operators. So this looks like, okay, you have multiple, electrical grid operators in India that were targeted by a Chinese-based state actor. But imagine, if you will, if you're in India and you manage, an electrical grid, there's probably a regulation for the types of devices you can use, right? Right? These cameras are approved, these servers are approved, these network devices are approved, that sort of stuff. So if you're then a Chinese APT, Advanced Persistent Threat Actor, and you find an open camera in an Indian energy provider's network that you can connect to and compromise, now you probably can compromise all of the energy providers in that area because they all probably have a lot of the same standards, right?
Right.
So that's where I always wonder, was this really Chinese actors targeting the electric grid? Or was it Chinese actors found a way into one electric grid company and went, oh, this is probably a standard. Let me hit them all, right? And start owning all the servers. So, you always have to be careful. You never know really the mindset of the APT and what they're looking for. But
yeah.
Moral of this story, patch your IoT devices. If your refrigerator talks to the internet, see if you can patch it. Or in this case, IP cameras.
Or better yet, get refrigerators that don't talk to the internet unless you really are going to use that.
Why is your refrigerator talking to the internet anyway? Yeah. Yeah, very good. Okay, today, as we record this, it is Black Friday. It is the day after Thanksgiving. And there's this great article on CNET, 2022 Black Friday. Make sure you avoid all the elaborate scams. Scammers don't take a break during the holidays, so learn what to watch for to protect yourself. Good advice.
Good advice.
Yeah. And you know what? I've read through this and actually, so I really did want to do a, security, because I get asked this all the time from friends and family, especially during the holiday season, where they're going to buy, gifts for family and they go, what should I look out for? What should I be worried about?
Yeah.
Is this a good site to buy this particular thing on? And I thought it would be a good idea for us to just give some general tips. So I went out and started looking for is there a list of general tips? And it's actually there's a lot of them out there and there's some that are really good.
Yeah, we have one.
Yeah. So I thought this one was pretty poignant to Black Friday. And what's funny is a lot of them have, and so do ours, have a lot of the same advice that we've been giving you on the show.
Right.
For example, things like using password managers.
Yep.
Right. If you're going to be signing up with a vendor to buy a thing, right, use a password manager that uses a password that you don't use anywhere else.
That's
that way, if that site gets breached, or God forbid, that is a scam site that you just put a username and password into, it doesn't matter. They don't own anything yet, right? They haven't stolen a password that gives them access to something else, right? So that's one great tip. Another great tip is use a payment gateway that you trust. So if I go to joeshardware.com and I have the option of using PayPal, Apple Pay, or, hey, give us your credit card, I'm going to use PayPal or Apple Pay, right? Because I know what that looks like.
joesbank.com.
Right, exactly. So like I'm going to say, hey, yeah, I want to use PayPal, and I know what that looks like. PayPal pops the window up, and I know when I put my username and password in, PayPal is going to text my phone and require 2FA. And if you don't have 2FA on your banks, your PayPal, your Apple, please turn it on, especially for this season. So I know what that looks like. I know when I'm going to be, asked for those codes. I know what sites they're going to. So the payment, for example, my password manager won't put my password in for PayPal if I'm not actually at PayPal site. Mm-hmm. So that way, if somebody, tries to make it look like PayPal site, but it's not, my password manager will go, no, this isn't PayPal site. You shouldn't be putting your password in here for PayPal. So, that's another nice great suggestion. Yeah, is use a third-party payment system like Apple Pay, Google Wallet, or PayPal. Those are probably the three that your system knows the best.
Good ones.
Don't fall for the secret sister scam.
I haven't heard of this. Have you guys?
I haven't either. But primarily I haven't because I'm not on Facebook. Like I have an account on Facebook that I signed up just to keep my name so that scammers couldn't pick up my name. And then I shut it down and don't actually accept friend requests and leave it locked. But apparently what's happening here is it's a classic pyramid scheme. Hey, you buy a gift for $10 and send it to someone and you'll receive $360 worth of gifts back to you, right? So the first person who did it had, 30 or 40 people send them stuff and so on and so forth. So worst case scenario, what happens is you're out $10.
Right.
And they steal your personal information because you got to give them, your address, your name, and that sort of stuff. So, honestly, if the deal seems too good to be true, it probably is. Yeah. Don't get sucked into these scams where you think you're going to spend, because think of the math on that, just sheerly the math.
Yep.
And this is where, Sam.
This is where we lose all our listeners.
Right. No. Yeah, right. No. Think of the math. How does it work? How does it work where you can send $10 worth of something to someone and you're going to get $360 back?
Yeah.
Like at some point that collapses.
Worked for Bernie Madoff for a while.
And it worked for FTX for a while.
That's right.
But,
yeah, that's true.
All of those are Ponzi scams, and you should watch out for them.
Right.
Yeah. So needless to say, just be careful. Like I said, sending $10 out to get $360 back is never going to be something that's ever going to happen.
Now, we should mention that this isn't just pertinent on Black Friday, which is come and gone for listeners. But during the holiday season, there's, these are just things to watch out for, that because you don't just buy stuff on Black Friday. One of the ones I thought was interesting was like the faux charities that pop up.
Yeah. Yep.
Hey, thanks. My charity is real.
After we just announced a
that
charity.
Is a real charity.
Present company excluded.
Yeah, that is not a test. That was actually a plea.
Try and see how many people give us money.
Oh, I'm in so much
Don't
trouble
send
now.
money to the security guys.
No, Patrick's wife running the Boston Marathon is actually a really good.
That's a really
good thing to donate
Real
to.
true
Yeah,
thing.
absolutely.
You can trust us. We're on the internet.
You're making it worse.
I know. Oh man. Well, is that it? Is there anything else?
I think so.
Yeah, I think keeping it simple. I think those are kind of the top stories and things to worry about this week.
Yeah. Okay.
Be safe out there.
Be safe. Absolutely, and have a great holiday season, whatever you do. And don't take any wooden nickels. See you later.
Bye.
Bye, guys.